Hello and welcome, sock puppets and sociopaths, to not a very special edition of the stream. It's the opposition budget reply edition. It's TLD, guys. It's TLDs in the chats. We're going to see what kind of lackluster, milquetoast, ersatz populism they can come up with to try and claw something back from their woeful numbers that they've been posting. The stream is lagging a little bit because I am... This probably looks a bit better. For now, I'm just going to dominate the screen for a bit. Yeah, what are we expecting tonight? I mean, their immigration policy, which is you can't get welfare until you get a bit of paper. I'm guessing we're going to hear them repudiate Labor's tax changes, which is predictable. What else? Who knows? I mean, it may be nice to see a bit of defense spending. Maybe they think about energy policy for once. But at this point, I mean, who cares, guys? Like Brian said yesterday, do we really care at this point? Ask yourselves, is there anything they can say or do that is going to get your vote back from the big orange goddess? Probably not at this point. I'm just going to figure out the best way to put this up. There we go. My video lags when we do it like that. I might just have to sit down the bottom. So yeah, we're getting underway. Now, I mean, look, this isn't going to be a long stream tonight, and it's not going to be a particularly interesting one, I don't think. The reality is I had to watch this for work, so I thought you guys could watch it with me. Just in case he says anything interesting. And here he is. He's getting underway. Our shit and useless soldier,
and
Angus Taylor.
Australia for all. An Australia where life is affordable. An Australia where we have cheap and abundant energy.
Yep.
An Australia where industries thrive and businesses boom. An Australia where we innovate, make and build things of ambition and farm, mine and drill with determination. Yeah. An Australia where a single income earner on an ordinary wage has enough for a home deposit and to pay off a mortgage steadily over time. An Australia where a mum or dad can afford to take time away from work to do the most...
Keep an eye on Hasty's face, guys. We want to see any kind of hasty grimaces.
Yeah. An Australia where those we welcome to our shores are all determined to embrace our values, to work hard, to contribute to this nation, to become Australian. An Australia
I don't see any here for that.
In our nation's future. An Australia where we have hope and optimism. This isn't the Australia we know today.
This speech sucks already. This is like, this sounds like something that could have been written in the early 2000s.
We can restore our standard of living and we can protect our way of life.
How is this going to go on TikTok?
Now, that starts by fighting against the assault on aspiration at the heart of Labor's budget. Labor is locking out young Australians from the opportunities afforded to older Australians to build wealth and prosperity and to get ahead. This Prime Minister is one of many Australians who has benefited from these opportunities. Now he's pulling up the ladder of opportunity for the next generation.
I'm just going to turn this down because it sucks, but just something we were thinking about today in one of the myriad sock-adjacent group chats, and if anyone wants to do this as a little project, last 3 months, house sale data on RP data. Let's find out how many Labor guys bought houses since the budget's been drafted. If anyone can figure that out, you'll be a hero. Because I have a strong suspicion anyone who knew this budget was coming has just been hoovering up places for neg gearing. Might even be worth getting a hold of a Treasury staff list as well.
An attack on every Australian. As Labor's own budget papers state, its tax hikes will reduce
the budget reply could have been a tweet
for young Australians
if he had Twitter
to buy or to rent. Labor's negative gearing changes will hand over housing investment to multinationals and foreign pension funds. Labor's increase to the capital gains tax will discourage the investment Australia needs to grow. And Labor's small business tax will punish small and family businesses that are already working harder than ever and collapsing at record rates. The Treasurer's higher taxes aren't economic reform.
Thank you, fat retard.
They're
Welcome
an
to the
assault on
show.
aspiration.
I love it when a new anon with a great name
They're
shows
an
up.
attack on the wealth creation that benefits all.
He does kind of
They
look
will
like if you said to
crush the reward
ChatGPT,
for
give
hard
me
work
a
spirit
McKinsey's guy
that
who washed
underpins
out of his
our
up or
nation's
out interview.
success. And so the coalition will fight like hell to prevent Labor's toxic taxes from becoming law. But if they do, I commit that a coalition government I lead will repeal them. Now, there's a simple reason why Labor has broken its core election promises.
Because they want
This
to win.
incompetent government has lost control of its spending. When Labor runs out of its money,
Oh, this is the line. He's still in the line. He said the line, guys.
intergenerational
Take a
theft
drink.
isn't caused by older Australians.
When they
It's been caused
run
by
out of
our
money,
government.
they come after yours. That's
Labor's
the line
reckless
they're going to put
spending
on
will
TikTok
soon
right
see
now.
our country with $1 trillion of debt. The only way to get debt down is to throw out this bad government. Now, to know a fairer, freer and better Australia, we also need something that's been missing for too long, and that's honesty.
Ooh.
Honesty about what's holding Australia back and leaving Australians behind. First, mass migration is changing Australia for the worse.
Okay, all right.
The number of people coming in far exceeds the number of houses built.
Well, that's good. Yep.
Consequently, the great Australian dream of home ownership is vanishing for old and new Australians alike.
It's
Across
very
its two
civic
terms,
nationalist of him, but okay.
Labor will have brought in 2 million people. That includes 90,000 more than planned in the next 2 years. By inviting in too many people too quickly, we've also seen some come with the wrong values. People who don't want to join and embrace Australia, but people who want to change Australia to suit them.
That's not bad.
We saw this with the
Okay.
Bondi tragedy, inspired by radical and violent Islam. Second, prioritising net zero and emissions reduction above all else has seen cheap, always-on power dismissed for expensive, sometimes on, industrial-scale renewables, mainly sourced from offshore. Power prices have soared, causing households to struggle, businesses to close, and industries to move offshore. Far from a future made in Australia, our future is being made abroad. Australians have been fed the lie that our economy can function on solar, wind, and batteries alone. But the truth is, fossil fuels continue to drive our economy and our prosperity.
Okay.
In this budget
isn't
alone,
too bad.
Labor has $18 billion in new net zero
Yeah, I
spending.
think he will tank the landing. Yeah.
Labor's net zero obsession is driving up inflation and destroying our economy. And that's why net zero must go.
I think
Third,
I picked already is talking
All
about
Australians
nuclear.
prosper from having access to international markets. But blind faith in globalisation has hollowed out our vital industries and made our country vulnerable. We're
Yeah,
too dependent.
This is
on
the
other
most
countries
important
for critical
speech he's going to
supplies
deliver
jet
for the
fuel,
entire year. You'd
diesel,
think he could memorize it. Like,
and yet we have an abundance of resources.
I'm going to go into this when he's done, but I do have
We
this
could be
bugbear about these guys that read
self-sufficient and reindustrialise in
speeches.
key areas if we stop locking up our resources and turbocharged digging and drilling. Fourth, during the pandemic, many Australians were reliant on government. But that crisis fed the mistaken belief that bigger government is the solution to every problem. Anthony Albanese promised that you would be better off under a big Labor government. But big government hasn't led to better government or Australians being better off. Government-led housing programs have seen 30,000 fewer homes built each year. 30,000 fewer each year.
Yeah, that's a great call, Green Goblin.
Has seen billions wasted.
A great call. I always say 2004 for some reason, but you're right. It's
government-led childcare for all has caused costs to rise by 14%. And government-led energy policy and pushing out gas and coal generation.
The moderate women are on their phones now.
To surge by 40%.
She's not paying attention. Shame.
Labor's reckless spending has caused inflation to soar. Contrary to Labor's spin, inflation was rising long before the conflict in Iran. Under Labor, interest rates have gone up 15 times.
A buddy of mine just said, did he ask ChatGPT to write a speech based on ideas from One Nation's website?
Moreover, under Labor, economic growth is an illusion. Every single dollar of growth has been due to population growth, mostly immigration. Every single dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Labor remains committed to the follies of mass migration, net zero, locking up our resources, and big government. We need to reject these bad ideas to bring about a
Which one is Zoe McKenzie, the one on the left or the right?
Australia. Yeah. Now, my life has taken me from the family farm, sheep yards and shearing shed, to small business, to factory floors, to boardrooms, to this parliament.
To McKinsey's. Come on, man. Don't be ashamed.
Aussie men and women who make...
Being a McKinsey's man in Australia is kind of like being a Princeton man in the US. You should just own it. Wear the little bow tie. Come on, dude.
And I've seen big government, big unions and big business who direct, influence, accumulate power and seek to control the lives of others. Our nation is at its very best when everyday Aussies are empowered. Yeah. My ambition for this country is to revive the freedom that Australians have lost under Labor. Not a government-directed economy, a free enterprise economy. Not bigger government, but better government. Better government that gets the big things right, gets off Australians' backs and puts its faith back in you. To that end, the coalition government under my leadership will axe Labor's toxic taxes, end Labor's
toxic taxes, guys. You heard it here first. That's the buzzword.
Policies. Yeah. When we restore and expand our choices, we can begin to restore our standard of living and protect our way of life. Now, Mr. Speaker, to lower inflation, interest rates, and the cost of living, we must reduce government spending.
How's he going to do it? What's he going to cut?
40-year high outside of the pandemic. We will work with the government to make its national disability insurance scheme sustainable. Yet Labor lacks any real resolve to rein in its reckless ways. And unlike Labor, the coalition will get spending under control and save billions. We will abolish Labor's climate bureaucracy, its net zero agency, its power lines to nowhere, and its tax on the family car and ute.
Yeah. The family car and ute.
For electric vehicles, which are overwhelmingly going to high-income Australians. We'll terminate Labor's corporate welfare, like sending money to foreign tech companies that don't deliver.
He's taxing the foreign tech companies.
Housing bureaucracy, the ineffective Housing Australia Future Fund, and its build-to-rent tax breaks.
That's a great call by Enoch Bowden. Context Capybara is in the chat.
Labor's handouts for non-citizens. Many Australians would be surprised to learn that non-citizens are eligible for welfare in this country.
Chat, is anyone in here surprised to learn that? We've kind of been saying that for years.
The first home buyer 5% deposit scheme will be reserved for Australian citizens only. Yeah. That's because Labor has allowed some 50,000 non-citizens to access this scheme. Moreover, this government is funding welfare for non-citizens as soon as they
God, they're the sketchiest looking bunch of blokes.
Yet it has cut the private health insurance rebate for Australians over 65 and slashed 600 million for our veterans. Labor puts Australians second, whereas the coalition will always put
Great calls from the chat
Australians
tonight. I
first.
feel like the less I talk, the more
Tonight,
smart things you guys
I announced that a
say.
coalition government will reserve the NDIS and 17 different welfare programs, including JobSeeker, Youth Allowance, and the Family Tax Benefit, for Australian citizens only, and save taxpayers billions. My message is this: if you commit to Australia, Australia will commit to you.
It's a good
After
line.
all,
That's an okay line.
Taxes paid by hardworking Australians should support Australians.
He needs to do more table banging. Like,
Australians know
That's
that
good.
revenue from booming iron ore, gas, and coal prices go a long way. For instance, revenues.
I
can
know
help
for a
to build
fact that
more
there are guys
houses
watching the stream
and
right
stronger
now.
communities.
High losers.
As well as the long-term infrastructure and cities in cities and regions that we need, like the Inland Rail that's been axed by Labor.
Speaking of good lines,
Revenues can help to pay down debt too. Since Labor came to office, they've received
He does. He needs to watch
$500
Biden.
billion in commodity revenue upgrades.
Who never read off a
mostly
speech,
driven
by the
by
way.
higher
He
resource
just
prices.
owned the space.
This
Like,
year alone, iron ore prices have averaged.
they only
more than
installed these
$100
cameras
a
after
tonne
Paul Keating
US.
left, because that guy
But
used to
this
chew up
budget
the scenery. You
assumes
know, I want to
they
see
return to
scenery chewing.
$60 a tonne. Instead of paying down debt and building our nation, Labor has squandered resource profits with its self-indulgent spending. In contrast, the coalition will not neglect our responsibility to our children and grandchildren. Where resource tax revenues are higher than forecast, we will bank 80 cents in every dollar into our future generation fund. Yeah. This fund will help to pay down Labor's $1 trillion of debt. It will help to invest in nation-building infrastructure. 25% of funding will be for our regions that have been neglected by Labor. Regions that are home to the natural resources we all
Okay, this is the boring bit now. This is the bit that the Nationals are making him do.
In my career, I've worked across agriculture, energy, resources, and infrastructure sectors.
And McKinsey's, why is he ashamed of McKinsey's? Why not just say, I was a management consultant? Have you guys ever heard me be ashamed of saying I'm a strategic consultant? Never. I love it.
Government doesn't grow the economy. Private enterprise does. Tonight, I begin to outline how the coalition will restore Australian prosperity. It starts with driving investment. Investment lifts the economy's speed limit.
That's like
jobs,
an indication of how he should not be reading off a speech. You know, the way he kind of stumbles over the words, that's what happens when you are reading off a piece of paper. Guys, I do this stream every fucking week for 3 hours. I don't read this off a piece of paper, right? You realize this is all in my head.
When a builder invests in a ute,
I don't have a speech when I do this.
Take on a new apprentice, grow his business, and service more of his community. To lift confidence in our country and encourage business investment, tonight I announce an important down payment, the first of many. We will allow any business with a turnover of less than $10 million to immediately deduct assets of up to $50,000 on a permanent basis. To boost investment, we also
Socks
need to free
number one, gold
government
pass holder, rancid piss in my ass the second.
Laws are too complex.
Welcome, dude.
Enterprise. A coalition government will rewrite and simplify the legislative rulebook, including the Corporations Act, Tax Act,
now we're getting into the
Competition
acts.
Act, National Construction Code,
Boring bits.
and Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act. Take the Construction Code as one example.
He needs to gesticulate. He needs to throw
Labor
shapes.
has expanded it to more than 2,000 pages. The code's thousands of rules.
Every
and tens of
politician
thousands
should
of
watch like old
new housing
Fallout
bills.
Boy video clips
We want
and
the
learn
code
the
to be
shapes to
closer
throw. Like do
200
those
pages.
ones. Do that.
And we will go further.
That's how you hold the crowd.
Regulatory bodies created by government set rules and enforce laws, and that's important.
Seem to is carrying a lot
But
of
under
work,
Labor,
a lot of
these
that
regulators
there,
have become bigger, more powerful, and overbearing. They're regulating for regulation's sake. They need to get out of the way. Yeah. A coalition government will impose new responsibilities on regulators by law. Will require regulators to act in a way that encourages competition, nurtures investment, increases productivity, boosts wages, and grows the economy.
Yeah, Zoom, you're absolutely right. He needs Drew
abolish
Pavlou
Labor's
energy.
great big carbon tax, the so-called safeguard mechanism. Yeah. This tax jacks up the price on essential building materials like steel, cement, and glass, driving up the cost of a new home. It also undermines investment in key industries and hastens them going offshore. Indeed, we'll abolish Labor's crippling net zero carbon taxes wherever we find them, on mining, manufacturing.
You know it's bad when Bruce Lehrman is in the chat saying we need Drew on to wake us up.
Now, just as I want more investment in Australia, I want Australians to keep more.
We need BRS giving the budget reply at gunpoint.
If you're feeling poorer under this government, it's because you are. Labor is
another great call. I mean, you guys come up with some great stuff the less I talk.
The Treasurer says inflation will reach.
I reckon we've just got to, maybe we've got to bite the bullet and have a stream of consciousness Discord so you guys can just post bangers that I can then steal.
Power bills, mortgage repayments, and other cost of living expenses. But Labor is stealing from Australians in another way, year after year, without new laws, without an election, and without you even noticing until you look at your bank account. When your wages rise just to keep up with inflation, you're no better off. But you pay higher taxes as though you are better off. More of your income goes into a higher tax bracket. This is bracket creep.
It's a good thing. And interesting thing, Matt Square.
Feel poorer.
I wonder what kind of knife BRS actually carried, and could we?
Goes,
I mean,
the longer it
we
lasts,
could sell them, right?
The
we could sell BRS knives in Victoria.
This is a stealth raid on Australians.
Smaller than machete size.
Labor's promising that your real wages will finally go up, but Labor's plan is to tax away all of workers' real wage gains. Living standards go nowhere.
Conquer the world. That is an amazing question. We're going to get into that afterwards.
Will see their entire real wage gains taxed away. The worst thing about this tax is
look at Tim Wilson shaking his head like, "Oh no, not the poor workers!
Each year,
not the workers being taxed! Oh no!"
Under a coalition government I lead, this will end. Yeah. Tonight, I announce our tax-back guarantee.
Oh, the tax-back guarantee. That sounds like a Liberal policy. Oh, I'm excited.
We will index the bottom two income tax thresholds to inflation. Yeah.
It's McKinsey's guys, Green Goblin. They always fail up.
85% of income earners with relief of around $2.50 in year one for a typical worker, growing to more than $1,000 a year in year four. From 2031-32, we will index the top two tax thresholds as well. That will fully protect all income earners from inflation. This is generational tax reform.
That you will never pass.
It's simple
because you have no numbers, you have no riz.
It will back Australians
the vibes
to
are
work
off.
hard, take risks, invest in their future, and invest in our country's future. It will force government to respect your money.
It is hilarious to me that Ransom Piss in My Ass II has the best kind of tax commentary of anyone in Australia watching this right now.
Take that tax increase to an election. Under Labor, Australians work harder, pay more, and fall behind. Under the coalition, Australians will be rewarded, keep more.
Frank,
and get out.
I shared a podium with Louise Elliott recently. Amazing public speaker.
From
She
my
was
first day as
fantastic.
opposition
Actually, some
leader,
of the guys on
I
Hobart
said
City
I
Council
wanted
are
to
really good.
re-establish home ownership as the
Marty
centrepiece
Zuko is
of
fantastic.
the Australian dream. My goal is more houses for Australians and a fairer go for young Australians. A coalition government will get stalled housing projects moving again.
Every time he says
We
coalition
will
government,
invest
everyone's
$5
just
billion
laughing at him.
in supporting infrastructure like roads, water, power, and sewerage.
He might as well be talking about having colonies on Venus.
With this support, we will unlock 400,000 new homes for Australians.
No, he's wrong. Louise
As I said,
is great. I love
we will
Louise
cut
Elliott.
red tape, which will take up to $70,000 off the cost of a new home.
The banging on the table is the
with
most
access to
articulate
housing
thing
is
he's
that
doing.
Under Labor, immigration numbers are too high. With Labor having opened the migration floodgates, the dream of home ownership has become a nightmare for so many
Oh,
Australians.
the dream has become a nightmare?
Since
Oh,
Labor was
wow.
elected, it has
I never
brought in
would
a
have
record
thought of that
1.4
conjugation.
million people, about the
Oh, man,
population
that's
of
amazing.
Adelaide. That number accounts for 80% of our population growth over the same period. And that's why there's a shortfall of homes for about 400,000 people. Australians are deeply concerned about the scale and pace of immigration on housing, infrastructure, and services. And that includes migrants themselves, who have become Australians. Tonight, I announce a far-reaching and unprecedented housing policy.
Yeah, really.
It's also an immigration
What,
policy.
as in a
that puts
housing
Australians
policy?
First. A coalition will cap immigration numbers based on the number of homes constructed each year. Never.
He's not announcing
again
that
will a
tonight. He
government
announced
be
that a
able
couple
to
of days
bring in
ago.
More people than our housing can support. That's our commitment. That's our commitment.
That's
I
the
also
first time
stress
he
this
said
point.
something that wasn't read off a
Given
speech.
the magnitude of people coming in under Labor, immigration will need to be significantly below our cap in the first few years of a coalition government. We must allow the housing market to catch up. Only closer to the election can we provide a precise immigration number. It would be rash to do so now because Labor always exceeds its immigration targets. And it will do so again, Mr. Speaker.
Well, that was good. Look, he got fired up there.
The situation could be even worse than it is today. But this much I promise. The coalition will deliver one of the biggest cuts to immigration in the history of this country. Our immigration cut will complement our plan to lift immigration standards. We will make the existing Australian value statement an enforceable visa condition. We'll make it an obligation, not an option, for permanent visa holders to learn English. We'll enhance screening to stop radicals from entering our borders. We'll curtail frivolous protection claims by restoring temporary protection visas and establishing a list of safe countries deemed free from persecution. And we will process and deport 70,000 overstayers who have no legal right to stay.
70,000.
Those who
Oh man,
criticise the law being
that's
enforced
huge.
must explain why their sympathies lie with illegal overstayers instead of with migrants and Australians who abide by the law. In a dangerous world of coercion, crises and conflict, we need to address threats and risks comprehensively and get serious about our self-reliance. Tonight, I announced that a coalition government will develop a national security strategy and appoint a dedicated national security advisor.
Why don't they have one of those, you moron?
Will be defence. Unlike Labor, with its accounting trickery, the coalition will commit to spending at least 3% of GDP on defence. That is what is needed to bolster our ranks of warfighters in this country.
I like the use of the word
harden our
warfighter,
bases,
but you don't seem to understand how the
deliver
percentages work.
To
You'll
build
need to do
offensive and
3.6%
defensive
to fund it
drones
along
and
with
missiles
AUKUS,
at
you
speed
mong.
and scale in an age where such weapons are essential to deter a larger adversary.
Which larger
Energy
adversary?
security will
Angus?
also be a priority in this new strategy.
McKinsey's?
While renewables have a role in our energy mix, especially rooftop solar and home batteries, they aren't a rapid replacement for fossil fuels.
So what are you going to do, buddy?
Fossil
Lay it
fuels
on
still
me.
deliver most of our energy needs.
No, they don't.
Australia
No,
isn't
they don't.
undergoing a rapid, pain-free energy transition as Labor pretends. Australia's energy security requires energy abundance. That's
Okay,
the coalition's goal.
I've said that on the show.
Tonight,
We're right.
I
They
announced
are
that a coalition
lifting
government
talking
will
points
work
from
with
SOC.
coal-fired power plant owners to keep them running as long and as hard as possible.
If he says
to get
energy
electricity
surpluses and
prices
energy
down.
deficits, we know they're watching.
On fuel, the coalition has said we will double our minimum reserves of petrol, diesel and jet fuel to put our total reserves within reach of 90 days. We will also invest $800 million for new fuel storage to give us 1 billion litres of additional capacity. To incentivise more refining capacity, we'll make the fuel security services payment available to companies who can build new refineries. This includes refining of non-conventional.
How many companies are building refineries globally, dude?
biofuels
Do you know what those
and
numbers
coal
are?
liquids. Ultimately, we want decades of fuel reserves and much more energy. We can achieve that by getting Australian resources out of the ground. More Australian gas working hard for Australians. More Australian oil working hard for Australians. To dig and drill, the coalition will remove obstacles. As I said earlier, we will abolish Labor's hidden carbon taxes.
That's a good question, Aristocrat Tacombe. I've just plugged that into
rewrite Labor's
Grok, but I
anti-development
think it is.
environmental laws.
I think it's
to
about
speed up
15
approvals.
days.
We're also going to unlock critical gas and oil projects. We will create, under law, national strategic priority projects. 2 nation-building projects will be immediately designated by a coalition government.
This will be good. Here we
The
go.
Browse Basin offshore gas field
Oh, yeah.
in Western Australia
That's a good one.
and the Taroom oil field in Queensland.
That's not
The
bad.
Commonwealth will get out of the way so the states can get projects going.
Yeah, good luck
The
with that in
coalition will
WA,
also
mate.
put an end to the green energy rent seeking.
I was hoping he was going to say Bass
We will
Strait
back
for our
any
Tasmanian stock
technologies that
puppets.
can deliver affordable and reliable energy in this country. That includes coal, gas, hydro, batteries and renewables in the right places. And it will include nuclear power too. We will lift the ban. Yeah. To Australians watching tonight,
That's you guys.
I know you're struggling on many fronts.
We're not actually. We're all
I
doing
know
really
you're
good, aren't we, guys?
apprehensive about yours and your children's future.
I have no children. I just have you guys.
I know you're worried about the state of our cherished country. But decline isn't inevitable.
They stole
Damage
that from,
isn't
was it
irreparable.
Reagan? Was it Reagan who said decline is a
Difficulty
choice?
Isn't
Or was
insurmountable.
it Thatcher? It was one of them said decline is a
We
choice.
can restore our standard of living. We can protect our way of life. I'm not under any misapprehension. There's much work the coalition must do to win your confidence. But with the policies I've announced tonight and the vision I've outlined, I hope you can begin to believe again. Believe in our promise of better government. Believe in the prospect of a fairer, freer and better Australia. That Australia is worth fighting for, now more than ever. And the fight starts tonight.
All right. Well, that was it. We can do without the clapping. So that was Angus Taylor's budget reply. What do we think, guys? I mean, we've got some early reviews in from the chat. There were moments, there were glimmers of things that I thought were interesting. I mean, would have been good maybe 18 months ago, some of it. Like, had he been talking about immigration like that 18 months ago, he probably wouldn't be in the crisis the Liberals are in today. TLD would never have happened. So, look, we can debate the immigration stuff till the cows come home, but at the end of the day, it's too little too late, right? If you are worried about immigration in this country, if immigration is in your top 3 issues, you are voting One Nation. So unless he can match or exceed One Nation's policies, he's got nothing. He's got absolutely nothing. So, yeah, I think that the immigration stuff's largely irrelevant. Look, he was interesting on energy. He had some concrete stuff there. It is interesting to see them doubling down on fossil fuels in a way that no one has really since since Tony was in power, right? So that was interesting. The projects he's talking about, I mean, the Queensland one's really good. The Queensland gas, the Queensland oil and gas stuff's good. The WA one, like if his policy is just to help the Commonwealth get out of the way so the states get on with it, I mean, will WA get on with it? Not likely. It would have been funny if he did something on Bass Strait just to piss off Jeremy Rockcliffe. I would have found that really hilarious, but he didn't. There's a glaring omission there. He didn't mention AI once. Chalmers talked about AI. AI was a major feature in the budget, actually, like in terms of funding, in terms of like policy impetus, in terms of some of the bureaucratic changes they're making. There was actually some really interesting stuff on AI in the federal budget. We didn't talk about it the other night when we did the stream, but because it was in the documents. But having gone through it in the last couple of days, some of that stuff's very interesting, and it shows a small shift in how the government is kind of viewing technology. It was interesting that Angus did not mention it at all. I thought that's interesting. But look, a lot of us is classic liberal platitudes that went nowhere and meant nothing. Is this going to help him get so much as a wiggle? I mean, maybe there's 2 or 3% there in primary from the softest possible One Nation voters, former Liberal Conservatives who've made the switch. I mean, maybe there's enough there. Contingent, of course, on none of his own people coming out and walking any of it back. Yeah, I really don't think it was that great. Steve Redeem says AI investment should be 90% of the budget until I get my neat UBI. Well, one of the really interesting things he talked about in there, of course, and I'll be interested to see the actual numbers on this, is when he talks about cutting permanent residents out of the welfare regime, and not just the human services welfare regime, Centrelink, etc., talking about cutting them out of NDIS, etc. And he says, billions of dollars back to taxpayers. It's going to be really interesting to see the receipts on that, because obviously it's something that, when I get on my shit late in the regular stream, and we talk about the future of Australia, and we talk about the future of artificial intelligence and what the country is going to look like, that is something I talk about a lot, that you are going to need to increase welfare. You are effectively going to need a UBI. Now, I feel like this is a bit of a missed opportunity. Like, if I was there, that would have been how I'd have kind of segued into it. I would have talked about how artificial intelligence represents this generational opportunity to change the way people work, to change the nature of productivity. And said, well, look, we're going to cut permanent residents out of the welfare regime, and we're going to use those savings, the potentially billions of dollars in savings, to raise the rate of welfare. Now, I happen to know this because, weird thing, many years ago, I did help out some of the weirder guys on Twitter, those like what do they call themselves, the Australian Unemployed Workers Union, with some media and modelling stuff, and the quantum, the actual figure is only about, it's 3.3, and this is going back a few years, so I mean, adjusted for inflation, but like the figure to actually keep welfare payments in Australia indexed against inflation was actually only $3.3 billion per year. So, I mean, at the very minimum, I mean, such a cut to if you're cutting that many people out of the schemes, you could potentially keep having welfare payments keep pace with inflation. And that's something I've long been passionate about. I mean, especially considering, I happen to live in one of Australia's poorest suburbs. I live in Glenorchy in Tasmania, where, most people are on welfare, door knocking around here in that last election, it was abundantly clear how hard people are struggling. And I really do think it needs to be a priority of government to start raising Centrelink payments so these people aren't fucking starving and freezing to death. Here we go. So, of course, Sir Walmart Gollum is unemployed. Look, it was really a nothing speech. It probably more of a nothing than Chalmers. I mean, at least the things Chalmers was talking about he can do, like he's doing them. He's having some impact on the world. You look at a lot of the stuff Angus talks about and you think, bro, you're never going to be Prime Minister. Hold on. So, look, putting aside the policies, this was a really big test for Angus and a test of kind of how he looks and how he sounds and how viable he is as a leader. And instead of getting a guy that was engaging and that we could watch and go, you know what, he's making a lot of sense or whatever, instead we got the suit and tie equivalent of the tuck shop nationalists who read speeches off iPhones at the March for Australia, right? There was no energy. There was no vitality. There was no dynamism. Right, he's standing there reading off sheets of paper, reading talking points. It looked shit. It just looked absolutely shit. And it is like from the moment I stepped foot in a parliamentary chamber for the first time, which in my career I think would have been 2003, right? And so I've been around politics a really long time. And there are all kinds of things that annoy me about it and get my rankles up. But nothing annoys me more than the way they read speeches and the lack of energy and the lack of oratory and how fucking boring it is, right? Putting aside the fucking boost money I put into this stream, a few thousand of you losers tune in to watch me once a week, right? Imagine, would you tune in if it was just me reading one of my Substacks, right? If I was just sitting here reading off a piece of paper? No. It's a skill. It's a skill that as a politician, you should devote yourself to learning. Like, it's a job with such a narrow skill set. You don't have to do much. You have like a bureaucracy, you have staffers, you have like an exocortex for every single other thing. You as an MP, you as a minister, you as the fucking prime minister or the opposition leader, you only have to do and be good at one fucking thing. And that is standing there and delivering a speech. That's it. You don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. You don't have to be the best fucking policy advisor. You don't have to come up with the smartest zingers. There'll be guys to write that for you. All you have to do is stand there and deliver a speech. It drives me crazy because look at actors, right? Actors, I mean, in ancient Rome, an actor was the lowest class of person, right? And no one cared about that job. Today, I mean, I still think actors are kind of the lowest class of person there is. But those guys, those kind of vapid and venal people, they read a screenplay and they memorize it and they stand in front of a camera and they deliver their lines. So why are these people, why are they not able to sit there with a speech and memorize it and deliver it? You know, when I ran for parliament last year, I didn't get invited to a lot of things. I only had to deliver like maybe 2 speeches that entire time that mattered. Like I gave one, I think it was like to fucking community forum about the university, and I gave another one to the community forum on transport, right? And so I sat down at my desk and I wrote 2 speeches, and then I printed them out, and then I walked around my living room with my speeches and I practiced them. And it takes like an hour. They were 5-minute speeches. So I just read them 4 or 5 times. And then like, okay, they're in my head. And then I went and I just gave them off the cuff. Isn't that meant like that's all you have to do as a politician? The one thing. Yet over and over and over again, this is the one thing these guys cannot do. And it makes me despair. You look at a guy like Paul Keating, right? To this day, and we are now talking more than 30 years ago, 35 years ago, since Paul Keating was in Parliament. And you talk to fucking boomers, and to this day, that's the guy they remember. That's the guy everyone lionizes. That's the guy everyone writes books about. He's probably senile and very likely compromised by the Chinese Communist Party, and yet the entire country hangs off that man's words. Why? Because for a whole generation, I mean, like, he's the last guy anyone can remember who would walk into that chamber without a piece of paper and deliver a speech, right? Paul Keating's Redfern speech is one of the most, cited and referred to speeches in Australian political history. Have you ever watched the footage? And for some reason, I've never been able to see the entire length of the speech, but there are like snippets of it online. Keating's not reading that off a speech. He had a speech. The text of the speech is available online, but he just memorized it and he delivered it. And it's a spectacular speech, no matter what side of politics you're on. This is the thing, like Buyback Capital's like pointed out. All the things I get angry about, the immigration, the economy, the ineptitude, the incompetence. Like, if like you gave me a fix everything magic wand and said you can fix one thing about Australian politics, this is actually what I would fix. I would say we need people who can speak in front of a crowd, who can speak in front of anyone from the heart, who can make sense, who can articulate ideas that are in their head in a coherent way, who can articulate policy without having it written down. If just one person could do that, they would lead this entire country. And, you look at Pauline Hanson, right? Look, let's be real, guys. Pauline doesn't sound that good. But have you ever seen Pauline Hanson read off a fucking speech? Pauline doesn't read off speeches. She doesn't always make sense. She doesn't always get her words right. She sometimes fucks things up. But the entire country, 30% of the country is now looking at her going, well, at least she's honest. At least she's authentic. This is what people want. This is the one thing people want. It's just the ability to communicate an idea from the brain to the world without the filter of a piece of fucking A4 paper and the bureaucracy and the staffers and the red lines and the second guessing and the margin notes. They just want someone to say what they really mean and really feel. And if just one person can do that, we can change the country. But right now, none of these guys can, man. I had to sit recently through, I won't say which one, but like one particular state parliament for an issue I was working on. And so it was the first time in years I've had to sit down and just watch an entire debate on a bill. And I must have watched like 15, 16 members get up and speak. And it sucked. It was tedious. It absolutely fucking sucked. I'd even written some of the speeches for the guys that were getting up. And the way they were delivering them fucking sucked. And then like one guy got up, only one guy, no notes, got up, said what he thought. His speech went for about 5 or 6 minutes. Most of the guys had spoken up to the time limit, but he spoke for half of that. And he said more in those 5 or 6 minutes that mattered than anyone had spoken before him. You know. So guys, honestly, like, forgetting about the policies because they don't matter. He's never going to be prime minister. Forgetting about, you know, some of the shift in rhetoric we're seeing from the Liberals, because ultimately that doesn't matter either. You know, my one takeaway from this is, you know, the Liberals have put this is their last hope. This is all they have. Angus Taylor's all they've got. And he just stood up there and he read off a fucking notepad. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the budget. I don't know if anyone's got any more nuanced responses. Some of you have already had some specifics in there. I'm gonna go back through the chat. We got, what do we got? So Walmart Golems going off about Thomas Sewell. Well, yeah, dude, he is too much of an edgelord for me to endorse. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, you want me to buy a fucking Helly Hansen jacket? So you're happy? No, I'm not doing that. Yeah, I mean, Conquer the World gets it. They can't even bother to memorize the fucking speeches. It is disrespectful. It's your one job. It's the one thing they have to do, and then they don't even bother doing it. You know, it's not hard. It's really not hard to do. Like, once you know you have to do it. And the other great thing is, like, I often find when I do it that I'll just free ball once I'm up there anyway. I mean, if any of you have seen me give speeches lately to kind of our guy adjacent things, like if you're at that Australian Forum thing last year, or if you've ever seen me give a speech, like I've given 2 speeches now at March for Australia. I didn't write those down. I didn't practice those. I got drunk and I just went in and gave them. Like, and as I get older, I actually find that's a lot easier. I'll just pick one idea, like just pick one mood. And I'll say, I want to say this one thing. And then I'll just make it go for 5 minutes. I mean, that's basically what I do on the stream. You know, I just pick one thing. I'll grab something from you guys and I can generally run with it for 5 or 10 minutes. Now, I'm just a fucking moron with a live stream. Why can I do this and these guys can't? It just drives me fucking crazy. Yeah, Seal's speech at MFA was epic, and I do endorse them as much as I can. You know, I'm just not willing to fucking go all in on a dead political project like National Socialism when we need to save the country by any means possible. I mean, and in response to that, so Walmart Golem said, John optic cucks on Sewell because he doesn't want to end up on ASIO's Christmas card list. Dude, you're right. I don't. I literally don't. I'm sorry if that's being an optics cuck, but there are better things in life than being, like, you know, hunted around and locked up in prison and, you know. Yeah, I mean, AR says Tasmanian Parliament. We know you're not going to the NT to watch a speech. Yeah, it actually was Tasmanian Parliament. A lot of interesting things in Tassie today. Tammy Tyrrell switched to Labor. I lied. That's not really interesting. Green Goblin says, thoughts on Roy Morgan poll. I'm going to kind of follow the herd on this one, guys. Like, only because I'm a polling nerd. I just really don't have any regard for Roy Morgan SMS polls. Back in the day, Roy Morgan was a very good barometer of certain kinds of sentiment because Roy Morgan quite famously always got on the road and went out into towns and kind of poll people in person. They don't do that anymore. They've got bullshit methodology now. I mean, I'm not... I just don't think it's that accurate. They overestimated One Nation by 5% in South Australia. So I think, and that was another set of SMS polls. So yeah, look, it's interesting that for whatever reason, Roy Morgan's well, one of the interesting takeaways from it is if you think about the methodology and the difference between their methodology and the methodology of, say, YouGov or Demos or whoever. I think that the SMS polls are probably grabbing a different demographic and possibly a younger demographic. And even though they smooth that stuff out, I think it probably does suggest that whilst I don't think that 30% is, or 32 or whatever it was, is the real figure, that it might be the real figure amongst that demographic who are answering Roy Morgan text polls. So, yeah, I'm not particularly enthusiastic about it. But what else we got in the chat? Yeah, Conquer the World. Conquer the World says, do you know who's a really good speaker? Unironically, Drew Pavley. Dude, you're 100% right. And I mean, this is what the Americans found in their last couple of campaigns, right? Is, you know who can hold a crowd, you know who can appeal to people, you know who like people enjoy watching is actually guys who do it on the internet. I mean, there's actually a growing body of data amongst serious analysts in the US that one of the turning points in the last election was actually JD Vance and Donald Trump going on Joe Rogan. I mean, have you ever actually watched those whole episodes? Right? In total, it's almost 4.5 hours of content. 4.5 fucking hours. One of those episodes of the Joe Rogan JD Vance episode is the longest a US vice president has ever spoken. Full stop. There is more verbal content by JD Vance in that interview than Dick Cheney said out loud in 8 years. Like, there's a growing consensus that doing that kind of stuff, looking normal, talking normally to people, is the secret to success. Australia says that's because you know what you're talking about. Like, sometimes, not always. There's probably a few things that I don't really know what I'm talking about. Ransom Piss in my ass is saying John McGowan fond Tasmanian MP. Nah, man, nah. I did that last year on a whim, just because I was like super angry about the situation in Tasmania, and also just because I hadn't lived there in so long. Like, I really I romanticized Tasmania in my head a lot while I lived away, because I only went back like 3 times a year. My family lived here, and so to me, it was always like just a nice kind of idyllic place. And it was only when I moved back in May of last year, I realized, oh, fuck, this place actually sucks. Like, the government's running it into the ground. Like, unemployment's running rampant. Like, no one has any money. There's no development. Nothing's happening. And the government is to blame. Post-COVID, they had a fantastic government during COVID. Peter Gutwin's one of the greatest premiers I think Australia has ever had. Forget about Tasmania. I mean, his performance through that period was just exemplary, which I idealized in my head. And so when I got back and I saw, when I was talking to folks I knew in Hobart, and they were saying things like, oh yeah, I always have fuel in the car because I know that if my mother gets sick, it'll take 2 hours for an ambulance to get to me, so I have to drive her to hospital. When like people standing on the side of the road waiting for buses that never show up, when there's no work because the government keeps canceling major projects. That was why I did it then. Interesting bit of news. I mean, I don't think I've advertised this on Twitter, but I've actually recently got a new job down here. I've joined a strategic advisory firm, like a serious consulting firm, not like my fly-by-night operation on my own. And we're doing some really exciting stuff. We got some really interesting clients, and I think maybe, when I think about my skill set and the kinds of things I do, I will probably help people more by encouraging development and getting projects off the ground and helping those clients in Tasmania than I ever could actually being an MP. So I'm comfortable in doing that and chewing the fat with you guys. I have no ambitions to actually run for Parliament ever again. So yeah, 300 and done. That's me. Aristocrat de Coombs says John McGowan for chair of the Tasmanian Crayfish Board or something like that. That'd be a cool job. I don't think there is a crayfish board. Maybe we should start one. We got John, thoughts on Labor pulling an early election. Good question. That's a very good question, Green Goblin. And I'm beginning to think it's more likely than not. One of the more interesting things about the Roy Morgan poll, putting aside that I don't believe the underlying primaries, I don't think they're right. But Roy Morgan did something interesting today, which I noticed the other polling companies haven't done, which is they provided the methodology on 3 sets of 2PP. So if you look at the Roy Morgan's numbers, they provided a top line 2PP of One Nation versus Labor. They provided a 2PP of One Nation versus the Liberals, and they provided a 2PP of One Nation versus of the Liberals versus Labor. Now, what's interesting about that is there's like a 60%, 60% of those Labor's winning, right? So I feel like if you were Labor right now, you may very well be sitting there saying, fuck, why don't we just go early, get them while they got their pants down? Before One Nation's really got their feet under the desk, before they've got a lot of infrastructure, maybe that's something they might do. But yeah. What else we got, guys? Bruce says Canavan's up live on X doing a budget reply at the moment. I can't see him. Where is he? Matt Canavan. I don't mind Matt. He says some interesting things sometimes. Matt Canavan. Guys, I think Matt Canavan might have blocked me. Okay, so he's doing it in the Senate. All right. You want to watch this, guys? Actually, I'm going to put this on just because I really need to go to the bathroom. So, all right. We're doing it. You can watch this for a couple of minutes, then I'll come back. Hold up. Add to stage. I guess I got to turn it up.
Made that promise, but delivered upon it.
Is the audio coming out?
Labor's budget breaks promises, but worse still, it breaches the intergenerational social contract of ever-rising prosperity that has bound generations of Australians together. Tonight, I commit that the Nationals and the Liberals will always fight to hand on a stronger and wealthier country than the one we have inherited. We will never give up on the potential of the Australian nation and its people. Labor's own budget forecasts higher inflation, lower real wages and fewer homes because of its broken promises on tax. Labor has given up on economic growth. Labor has given up on cheaper energy. Labor has given up on building the roads, the rail lines, the dams that could unlock our nation. Labor has given up on controlling our borders. Labor has given up on the cost of living, and after 4 years of higher prices and lower wages, Labor has given up on Australia. This week, in their budget, they flew the white flag. Look, I'm from Queensland, and we know how to come back, and I will never give up. I will never give up on this country. I will never give up on fighting for Australians. I will never give up on our great nation and its promise to be the best country in the world. We can make life better, but to do so, we must use our country again. We must develop our farming, our mining, our energy, our tourism assets, and all of the industries of regional Australia. Australia's extraordinary economic success has been underpinned by the use of our natural resources. It is the natural wealth of regional Australia that will also provide the springboard to a better future for all Australians.
Okay, I'm just going to turn this off because it's lame. I
have spoken to thousands of regional Australians in the last couple of months. And so
again, right? Guys, again, they're just fucking reading off the speeches. It's Matt Canavan. He's good off the cuff. Like, he's not bad off the cuff, right? I think I wrote this. I wrote this in a Substack. like the last one, dregs. And I talked about the moment when I think this started happening, and it was in New South Wales in the early 2000s. There was an amazing politician in New South Wales that. Hold on one second, guys. There's there was an amazing politician in New South Wales, a guy called Carl Scully. He was police minister in the early 2000s, first under Carr and then under Morris Yema. And we used to call him like Twinkle Toes, right? Carl had like that spark, that kind of twinkle in his eye. Like he never came in with speeches. One of those guys used to chew up the entire chamber when he'd speak. You know, incredibly witty, incredibly charming. Used to just rip the shit out of Brogdon and all later Peter Debenham and all those losers. And he ended up losing his job. He ended up being fired by Morris Yema because he had just very obviously, and this was one of the first ever jobs I did. The first ever time I was involved in like a Liberal Party dirt job was catching Carl Scully out on misleading the chamber when he I can't even remember what it was now. I think it was about it might have been about Cronulla actually. But basically he had lied and said that a report that he had received he had not received, and he'd been asked this question I think by Debenham, who was either the leader or the shadow police minister at the time. And Carl got up and he just ripped the shreds out of him. Like he just did his usual song and dance routine. But in the process, without notes, he didn't realize that this document that he claimed to have not seen, that he had actually seen. And we caught him out and Yemen was forced to sack him. And looking back, I now realize that, I mean, this was just in New South Wales. I don't know when it started federally, but at least that was the moment that like had like a cooling effect on the parliament, and ministers started going, oh fuck, I better bring in notes, I better bring in the folders, I can't just give a speech off the cuff anymore, because what if I fuck something up? And so that just had this enormous cooling effect on oratory in the chamber, because suddenly it was less important to look good and more important to be precise. You know, whereas in the past, I think, you know, you let people get away with stuff because, yeah, they don't have notes. And that's when it really changed. And I think a lot of what you see in the chamber nowadays is a consequence of that. Like, if you look at the best performers in Parliament, like around the country, I mean, you look at a guy like Mark Latham. I mean, Mark doesn't care. Like, what's going to happen if, I mean, Mark can't mislead Parliament. He's Mark, right? But the ministers can. And I think that's what's kind of triggered it. So anyway, that is my only takeaway from tonight, that God, we need to do something about these guys. Guys, it's going to be short and sweet tonight. I'm going to get off. We streamed for an hour. We watched it. We're all informed. We know what happened. I'll give you a couple of minutes if anyone's got any final great calls. But yeah, I'm going to put a pin in it because I really don't think there was much there. Glad I watched it, though. Glad I watched it with you guys. It's always fun. We have fun together. We'll be back next Tuesday for a regular Stream of Consciousness broadcast. No more watching Parliament. We'll try and watch something fun. We'll follow up on the big scene drama because that's still developing. Drew v. James Flynn. They continue to come to blows. That was one of the funniest nights I think we've had in a while watching that. So I'm looking forward to going back over that with you guys next week. We'll cover off on some stuff we're hearing about the looming Victorian election. You know, because I think that's going to be the next interesting thing that kind of catalyzes everyone. So thank you for joining me, guys, and stay conscious. It's been fun.